Welcome to today's edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM, The Word, and I'm Roberta Foster. Today I welcome Jason Burkey to Author's Corner. He's a lead actor in the PureFlix movie called Divine Influencer, which is directed by Sherry Rigby and produced by Sean Bosky. And you can also see Jason in a previous movie called Fearless Faith. Jason, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So why don't you give our listeners a summary or a teaser of the story of Divine Influencer?
Sure, yeah. So Divine Influencer follows a social media influencer, Olivia, who's kind of wrapped up in herself and how many likes and followers she has. And she ends up losing everything and ending up working at a homeless shelter and living there. And she kind of learns what the true meaning of influence is once she's spent time at this homeless shelter.
Well, as you indicated, social media has really flared up with all the likes and follows and all this kind of stuff. So share with our listeners how she came to realize what true influence is.
Yeah, so my character, Ryan, runs this homeless shelter, and so under false pretenses, she comes to this homeless shelter because she really needs a place to live. And so she ends up taking a bed at the shelter from someone who really needs it. And she kind of gets her hands dirty and is serving the people at this shelter and spending so much time with them and getting to know them, that all the things that she used to live for in her life don't seem to matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
Once she sees the people that work at this shelter and the people that come to this shelter, she sees the influence that we have on these people at this shelter. She just comes to realize through talking with them, having some meaningful conversations with some of the volunteers there, that what she was living for before didn't have much meaning. And now this life, she sees this kind of life and the kind of meaning that all these people have at this shelter working there, that's something that she desires and something that she wants ultimately.
Yeah. So in the storyline, you run into Olivia out and about, and you guys kind of recognize each other as having been classmates 10 years previously. One of the things I noticed as I watched the movie was that you started walking away, and then you came back and asked her if she would like to come to the rescue mission and work. Now, she didn't pay attention because she was on her phone again, thinking that was a date. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the movie shows that you hesitated in asking her. And something that came to my mind is we can be just as assuming how somebody is going to be if they are dressed in rags or if they are dressed in riches. Was that kind of a point of the movie as well?
Yeah, I think for Ryan, there were a few things going on. I mean, he knew Olivia in high school, as you said, and she was kind of the same way, kind of wrapped up in herself and didn't really pay him much attention. So I think for him in that scene, he's kind of unsure about whether this is a good idea.
Okay.
To have her come to the shelter, because his memory of her is how she was in high school. And so I think on the same token, like, he knows that it would be good for her. So I think he did have a little ulterior motive there of like, hey, this might be good for you, because knowing how you were in high school, like, this could I think it's good for you to get shaken up a bit and come experience this. Also, the shelter has great meaning for him, and he's been working there for so long. I think there's also a genuine desire to reconnect with her, and he thinks the best place to do that would be where he works and where his heart is. Yeah. And so I think there's a few things going on in his head in that scene as to why he invites her to it. But yeah, the comedy does come in, and she shows up, and my character's wearing a hairnet and like getting ready to serve food, and she's all dressed up and glammed up, thinking it's a date, but really she's getting her hands dirty.
Yeah. Well, today I have the pleasure of talking with Jason Burkey regarding the PureFlix movie called Divine Influencer, and you're listening to Author's Corner. I'm Roberta Foster. The movie was very entertaining, and I really like to watch films that have these hidden themes or subtle themes beneath the actual visual that's going on. You did mention already that one of the purposes of the movie is to show people how important it is to have true purpose in their life. And you do that. The movie is all about finding that purpose through God. Share with us more about how that was displayed through the movie.
You are introduced to characters there who volunteer at the shelter. A couple of the characters, like Flora and Charles, and Tara, these supporting characters who have all come from different backgrounds, and some of them pretty rough backgrounds. And God led them to that shelter to spend their time there and work there. And they were transformed by volunteering there, just as Olivia gets transformed by volunteering there. And they talk about God's purpose. They talk about how before God kind of got a hold of them, they were lost. They were kind of scrambling and unsure of the direction of their life. And it wasn't until God kind of brought them to the shelter and opened up their eyes and showed them kind of the true meaning of why we're here on this earth, to connect with one another, to serve others. It wasn't until then that they discovered their purpose. And for Olivia, she ultimately kind of hits rock bottom in the film because of something she did. She brought some danger to the shelter, and to specifically one of the women that's staying in the shelter. And so she's kind of carrying this weight around, and it comes out like her real reason for staying at the shelter is just because she needed a place to stay, not because she wanted a job there. And Ryan really gets upset about that. Sure. And through all that kind of mess that she creates, she kind of sheds the skin of her old self, and like I said, just kind of discovers her purpose. God gets a hold of her once she starts working at that shelter, just like he did with Flora and Charles and Tara. And
so that obviously there's a happier ending than where that left off. But one of the one of those subtle themes in the movie is the opportunity for second chances. And obviously we know through Christ Jesus we have that opportunity for a renewed life, a changed life. It's wonderful to be able to share with others that second chances are available if we humble ourselves and ask for them, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the lines that I have in the film is telling Olivia, hey, this place is for second chances. We're all about second chances here. That's why we exist. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're all given a second chance through what Jesus did for us. So yeah, it does have a happy ending for sure.
Well, we won't tell everything here today so that people can look forward to seeing this PureFlix movie called Divine Influencer, in which Jason Burkey is starring one of the starring roles of Ryan. So maybe I can get you to answer a little more personal question. As you were going through this movie, did this movie make a change in your life?
Yeah, it was funny, me doing this film, because I quit social media 10 years ago.
Oh.
And just quit it cold turkey. And for me, the reasoning was I didn't really like who I was becoming on it. I found that I was becoming addicted to it, and I'd be in a beautiful place, and I wouldn't even be kind of taking in where I was and appreciating where I was. I was thinking about, like, I got to get a photo of this because I got to post it, and I want people to see where I am and what I'm doing. And, you just kind of fall into this, like, I want to show people the best part of myself, even like a fake part of myself.
Yeah.
And so it was all just getting too fake for me. I was getting too fake for me. So I quit it 10 years ago. And it's really been, that was a healthy move for me, because I feel like I'm more present in wherever I go. I just feel more present. And so this was kind of ironic that I was doing this film. That's all about, I was doing the same thing Olivia was doing in the movie, just kind of seeing how many likes I could get, and wanting, kind of wanting the praise of people instead of searching for the praise from God.
Right.
It's like, it's easy to fall into that. I still fall into it. We all do. We're all human. So this was really a meaningful project for me, to be a part of a story that's kind of shedding light on where we are with social media, and where we are with human connection, and how we need to get back to how we used to connect with each other before any of this existed. Like learning how to really connect with each other and serve each other, instead of kind of being obsessed with ourselves, which it's easy to do.
Yeah. Well, I am talking today with Jason Burkey. He's a star in the movie Divine Influencer. So, Jason, when is the movie coming out, and how do people go about seeing it?
Yeah, so it will be out streaming on PureFlix. September 15th is the date. And so you could subscribe to PureFlix and watch it there. The trailer is out. If you just Google Divine Influencer, the trailer is out there, so you can get a little taste of what the film's about. But yeah, we're excited for everyone to see it.
Absolutely. So once again, I've been talking to Jason Burkey about Divine Influencer. And as he's mentioned, this is a production of PureFlix. And we certainly thank them for this opportunity to encourage our listeners to look into the availability of the movie next week. Jason, thank you so much for the time you've given to us today.
Of course. Thanks again for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. And as a reminder, if you missed any part of today's interview or would just like to hear it again, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platforms. And thank you so much. Join us again next time on Author's Corner.